Hello and welcome to Nailed On with John and Kris. In the light of the recent news with the Newcastle Villa fixture being cancelled, lots of us have found ourselves in positions with players who will not be playing this week, and lots of people will be panicking. They'll be looking at the free hit chip and thinking, is this the week to use it? And they'll also be thinking of taking hits in their team to try and fix this problem. But we want to kind of come at you with our approach and try and stress an air of calm around the situation. Lots of you are going to have players like Grealish, Martinez, you might have Konsa, possibly Wilson as well. The two of us are unfortunate. Well, I'm unfortunate to have three of those, and Kris has just the one, I believe. But yeah. We're just going to cover a few of those players to begin with. So starting with Grealish, what should we do in that spot, Kris?
Yeah, I think, this is the player that, a lot of teams own. They're going to be potentially panicking, looking at potential replacements. And I think for us with this one, Grealish is, a lot of managers would have gained a lot of value in Grealish as well. And still, you've got to remember that he's got nice fixtures coming up. There's going to be a potential double game week fairly soon. My personal opinion on Grealish would be to hold and not make any rash decisions on moving him out. Because for me, there's not really many standout options at all. I mean, we could talk about the likes of Diogo Jota as potentially the only one you might go to, John.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of who you're going to go to in that price bracket and below Grealish, bear in mind when Grealish returns, he has really nice fixtures, as do all the other Villa players. So you need to think that if you're making a transfer in the short term, not only are you sacrificing the money you've put into Grealish, so any increase in price is going to disappear to an extent, but you also need to make up the deficit with this player you're bringing in. And even with Grealish missing a game, I'm not sure if it's fully justified. I certainly wouldn't be taking a hit to replace Grealish. No. So, as you said, Jota, I think for the two of us, is the only viable replacement option. And lots of managers already have him in their team. Those that don't, this is maybe an opportunity to do so, but I'd still remain somewhat calm about this. And I think Grealish is an amazing prospect when he returns. So I wouldn't be too trigger happy at this stage.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what would you say to someone who has maybe 3 or 4 players across Newcastle and Villa?
So that is exactly myself, Kris. And looking at the options, I'm so against making early transfers all season, and with exactly the exact funds to do Mbappe to Wilson, I made the transfer. And for the first time all season, and it stung me. I woke up to this news after researching the night before, and I was pretty upset about it. But I have Wilson, I have Grealish, I have Martinez, also with Steer as the backup. So 3. So in my situation, lots of people might be looking at the free hit chip. I personally think that's the most valuable chip in the game, and it should be. You're going to find a much better time to use it if you carefully plan it with a double game week where you're fielding 11 players. And then times 2, of course. So for me, I've already made my transfer this week. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to field 8 players plus my bench of Basuma and Dallas away to Chelsea. So I'm not even going to have 11 on the pitch this week. I just think if you say the average points for a player is about 4 points, at best, I'm going to make up the hit I took in the short term, and I can't see any better alternatives than the players I have in my team. The only option you could have, if you have a free transfer in the bank, someone like Martinez to McCarthy might be reasonable. What do you think on that, Kris?
Yeah, so I'm obviously in that sort of position. So the only Villa players I've got is Martinez and Steer. So that's what I'm looking at now is, do I make a sideways move from Martinez to a McCarthy, or potentially look to upgrade into a Mendy? That's something I'm considering at the moment. But for me personally, I've got other issues in my team. So I've still got Sace in my team, who doesn't look like he's going to get back into the Wolves team. I've also got Mope as well, who potentially may or may not be out this weekend. So whatever happens out of that news for Mope is going to dictate what I do, I think. Hypothetically, say Mope's fit, then I may look at a sideways move from Martinez. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But if Mope's not fit, then I'll probably be prioritising that transfer. Or, as I said, getting Sace out.
Yeah, so lots of managers are going to find themselves in similar situations. They're also going to be planning for maybe bringing back Salah in a week or two. So without it's hard to come up with a strategy like a one-size-fits-all approach. So if we summarize some key points around this topic, and I just want to make this quite clear, and the first one I'd like to mention is people are going to be saying, should I use my free hit? And my answer to that is no. There will be a much better time in the season, even if you're in my position or worse, where you have 3 or 4 players from those teams not playing. I do believe there's a better time to use it later in the season. So keep calm and don't use the free hit is my first conclusive point.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then I guess the next point that we sort of to summarise is then Grealish. So probably hold on to him or look to go to Jota. And then potentially the final point, John, then is not taking hits for getting these players out. It's not going to be worth it unless, you somehow downgrade a player to enable some funds for Man City or De Bruyne or Salah. That I don't really see much upside to taking a hit this weekend for those.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it, you've got to think in the short term, you've got to try and make up that deficit. And if you really, it gets a bit more dangerous at this stage. If you start planning ahead and start saying, well, maybe I can make back the points I'm losing, those 4 points. But when you start doing that, look at the fixtures for Newcastle. Look at the fixtures for Villa. They are still extremely good. So for me, I'm keeping all of my players. I'm keeping calm. I'll end up I'll miss out on roughly, say, up to 10, 12 points this week. But in the long run, that is not a huge amount. I'd rather have a healthy team ready for the following game week.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool. So thank you for tuning in for this quick one today and good luck for the following week.
Cool. Cheers, guys. See you later.